By George, I think I've got it.
Hybrothetical Thinking.
I saw that Bigfoot walking across the screen and I thought to myself, wow, they are real.
I ask us all, is that really reasonable?
Hybrothetical Thinking.
My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
And show you a little of the evidence for
Hybrothetical Thinking.
Researchers at Stanford University School of Medicine have pioneered a cancer vaccine that eliminated all traces of cancer in mice.
You could find evidence of that, my friends. You could change the world.
Hybrothetical Thinking, a podcast for the hypothetical thinker.
Greetings, travelers, and welcome to Hybrothetical Thinking, a semi-informative podcast that explores the journey from probability to possibility. My name's Nick Floyd, and I'm joined by my two wonderful co-hosts,
Taylor.
Johnny.
So the way this works is that either Taylor or myself will do the research for our weekly episodes, and Johnny, good old Johnny, goes into every episode completely blind, meaning, if you don't know what that means, it means he's going to have no idea what we're talking about ever.
No idea.
The blind man with no clue.
Yeah, cool. How you guys doing? How you been? How's your week?
Man, it's been pretty good on my end. Weather out here is good today. It's been pretty rainy the past few days, kind of gloomy. Got a chance to get outside and stretch the legs a little bit today, so that was good.
Yeah, it's been super good out here. The weather's picking up a little bit. It's not as cold as it used to be, and so I'm just stoked for the summer.
Yeah, it is. You know, the rain's coming. Haven't had to build an ark yet this year, so that's going well.
Thank goodness, because I have no idea how to do that.
Thank goodness. But, you know, if I did build an ark, the two people I would put on it would be you guys. So
A hypothetical
we didn't
arc.
pay him to say that either. We didn't pay him.
yeah, it's a hypothetical ark.
It would be made out of the worst building materials ever, so shitty.
Balsa wood.
But we'd have a whole lot of topics. Balsa wood, particle board, balsa wood,
and yarn. It'd all be tied together.
Yarn.
And MacGruber could build something with that.
Actually.
MacGruber would build a trebuchet
basically
and take over a country with those items.
Oh my gosh. I think out of the three of us, Taylor, you definitely resemble MacGruber the best.
Yeah. Taylor's the MacGruber of the Hybros.
MacGyver.
Well, thank you for that. I take that modestly, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No,
guys.
don't.
Thank you.
Taylor, what's the craziest thing that you've finagled, that you've built?
Yeah.
Oh, that I built?
Yeah,
Okay, one of my roommates in California, we had a little mouse problem, and we made all these little mouse traps to try and catch this thing, and most of them were pretty typical, but this last one that we built that I think actually worked, if my memory serves me correct, it was this weird trapdoor system on a garbage can, where somehow this mouse would have to climb up this garbage can, and I'm not quite sure how we built it, but it worked. I remember there was a 20-ounce bottle involved. Tight. There were straws. I believe there was string. Not quite sure. It was tight.
I feel like you guys might have gotten really high and watched Mouse Hunt with Nathan Lane and also played Mousetrap and went, you know what? I think I got a fucking good one. Let's do this. Let's give it a whirl.
This also might be a confabulation.
Oh, yeah. Very possibly. Mandela right
there. Well, I'm glad everyone's week's going well. We actually, we jump into news at this point, but one of our listeners by the name of Magdalena sent us she sent us an amazing article, and I have to read it. This is going to be our piece of news for the day. The headline of the article reads, in Colorado, a hunter claims he was sexually assaulted by a Sasquatch.
Tight.
Which is our bread and butter.
Out in the woods?
All right.
That'd be tough. That's
yeah.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Daryl Whitaker from Glenwood Springs in Colorado claims a Sasquatch attacked him and attempted to rape him while he was walking in the woods.
Ooh.
That sucks.
Yeah, and in the quotes, he says, it was at least 8 foot tall and his punches hurt like hell. I was knocked right out at the first blow. When I regained consciousness, he had already torn my pants and was tearing through my underwears. I stabbed him in the shoulder with my hunting knife and then made him run away.
Well, maybe he wasn't trying to rape him. He was just trying to like kill him. And, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounded like he was going for the junk. He was going for the giblets, taking off the pants and whatnot.
Like
it seems like
I don't
he knew what he
want
was
to
going
believe
for.
that.
Maybe it's
and
curiosity.
Also,
yeah,
he was only knocked out for a second. This guy's claiming. I bet.
Right.
I bet that Squatch got at least a third base. 8 foot tall Squatch. Come on.
I don't know. It all the story was crazy, and I saw this getting passed around the social medias like a Beach Ball to Nickelback concert a little while ago, and
nice.
I was curious, and it was like there are holes like their DNA on the knife blade that could have been a thing if he claims all this other stuff.
Yeah, right. They would have some badass DNA. They'd probably have some hair samples. Where's this guy at, man?
Right.
What's he doing?
And he has a picture of a footprint as well, like his foot. And the best thing is he's wearing like denim jeans in this picture with like black Velcro shoes. And that's the picture that his foot is next to. Like that's his fashion sense.
That's his hunting gear? He's out there in his like Walmart style Velcro shoes.
And he's wearing like a Ford hat.
Standard. Yeah, Built Ford. Hey, did you notice the logo on that Ford hat? Does it have the curly Q or is it the common F?
It's got the curly Q.
I can't believe
got the curly Q. Okay,
it's got the curly Q. It does. The unfortunate thing about this whole entire piece, the more I read, the deeper I delved, the more I fell down this deep dark hole that is Sasquatch sexual assault.
Sasquatch
assault.
Very deep.
We'll call it.
Very dark.
Yes. It's from a website called World News Daily Report. And if you go to the bottom of the website, it says and reads, World News Daily Report assumes all responsibility for the satirical nature of its articles and for the fictional nature of their content. So this is a website like The Onion. It is. So consider this myth busted. Magdalena, thank you so much for the article that you sent our way. It's such a shame that we had to bust it as quick as the Squatch probably would have busted.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You know what's messed up about this is that there's that guy, that article is clouding the idea that Sasquatches are rapists. Like, what the fuck? I always want to believe that they're like these healthy,
they're gentle creatures,
giants.
And also, there's a picture of some Ford supporter who people now probably think this guy got raped.
Yeah, like that's not cool.
Right.
Yeah, who is the guy? Yeah. Like, is he? I'd be pissed about it.
Part of this?
Yeah, well, clearly he's a fictional man.
Better be.
But the guy's picture is, you're right. Like it's not a fictional face in this picture unless this is like a guy's, father who he took who's a writer on the website, and they took a picture of him and they were like, oh, okay, here we go. I'm gonna put you on, Dad. It's gonna be real funny. You're gonna become a meme.
It'd be good karma if it was one of those guys that came out was like 2008 or 9 or whatever in North Georgia. Tried to say they had the Squatch, and it was like totally fake. It'd be awesome if it was one of those guys in this picture, and everyone's just like, "Oh, the guy got raped."
Oh, did I? Like that's not.
You know what's fucked up though, man? Is he's like, I cannot stand satirical shit that like it. Yeah, that's very fine print that you read somewhere near the bottom. That's like this is satirical, but like mockumentaries, man, they're dangerous. This information, especially on the internet, like. And it's all surface level research, so you can't be spending hours looking for Sasquatch rape. So this is going to pop up there, and it's, it's going to be all over your head Google searches. This guy gets raped, and so many people probably believe it. It's bullshit.
That's the problem.
Right. Well, clearly it was passed around and trending enough, but yeah, I just like leave some topics untouched. Like leave the Onion parody articles for politics and all the stuff that needs to be satirized, but come on, leave like I said on last week's episode when I got very upset. Just leave this stuff alone and let it be. And I'm all about a good Bigfoot comedy. Big Harry and the Hendersons fan.
Mm-hmm.
But that was done with taste and class.
And John zero rape in that movie.
So, John Lithgow.
Right.
I remember zero rape in that movie, which probably helped my vision of it.
Oh,
probably helped the PG-13 rating as well.
Yeah, I assume so.
Dude, I don't want to make myself sound like an idiot here, but a couple years ago I was watching, I want to say it was Discovery Channel. I'm watching this show. You guys know I'm not necessarily gullible, but I want to believe in crazy shit. I want crazy shit to be real, you know? So I'm watching this documentary. It's like 25 minutes into the documentary, and it's about the ocean, things going on in the ocean. It's like a research vessel pulls up this body onto the boat, and they start dissecting it, and it's like the realest looking shit ever. It's like actual sea life body parts that have been compiled together to look like this body. I was watching a mermaid mockumentary, y'all. For the first 25 minutes, I was 100% in belief that they had found some like weird hybrid animal that looked human. I'm not going to say I thought it was a mermaid, but it was like what people could have confused as a mermaid, you know, back in the day. I was so pissed, dude. I invested like a half hour of my life into that, and it's fake as fuck.
Oh,
that sucks.
Oh man,
but that's the point. I think a lot of the time people make documentaries to like screw you over, you know, and so they just succeeded. It just sucks that you, the non-gullible. I'm probably the most gullible out of all of us. I've made a documentary before.
Oh, what was it about?
Okay, this is a little tidbit. You guys all know me. I like taking selfies. I like taking selfies on my phone.
And he still does.
Snapchats, no big deal.
That's a fact.
And so, I mean, I Snapchat. So a picture of yourself, it would consider a selfie. I don't take a picture and post it. Anyways, so this whole entire college had it in their mind that I was addicted, essentially. And so we made a documentary called The Selfie Addict. And my friends came together and gave me like this whole like intervention. They're like, Johnny, like we care about you, but it's taking over your life. And I become like a violent selfie taker. And like it comes between me and my family, friends. And I beat some guy up, one of my friends, because he was into my phone. And that's the whole documentary.
Johnny says this is a mockumentary, but this is actually a real documentary about his life. I spent a lot of time with this guy. And yeah, it's probably, he actually the other day, I told him to put his phone down. And he threatened my life.
It's a blatant lie.
I mean, is it?
You're I believe
no, he did.
I've never posted a selfie on my Facebook or Instagram. It's always been just like Snapchat. But this whole documentary is based on the fact that I am addicted, and so I made a documentary.
And he still is. It's his life is the documentary. He literally looked me in the eye and he said, "I've never liked you, so killing you is going to be the easiest it's ever been."
Wow, is that what I sound like?
That was all over me just trying to take his fucking phone away.
Is that what I sound like?
Yeah,
I've never liked you.
Yeah,
I never liked you.
Johnny's got a dark side.
Yeah, I do. Do I have a dark side?
He might be, yeah.
I'm going to be crazy.
He might have a gentle exterior, but his interior is that of what the Zodiac Killer was.
For somebody that is so addicted to their phone, I spend zero time on this podcast on any electronic devices, me and a pad of paper. So I find this claim pretty unfound.
We're taking it back to the dark ages.
I just got a pad, paper, and pencil. No phone here.
This podcast is also sponsored by Future Monsters, a premier apparel store with pop culture and horror focus. Each product is handmade with quality materials, so not only does it look good, but it feels so good. No mass-produced cheap garbage here, with designs inspired by King Kong, the Wolfman, and much more. These shirts are a must for every occasion, whether it be nightclubbing, metal shows, weddings, and of course, our favorite, podcasting. Head over to futuremonsters.com and enter the code HYBRO, that's a capital HYBRO, at checkout to save 10% on your next purchase. We know we'll be doing that as soon as possible. So while that took a crazy turn down a path I never thought it would go down, Taylor, today's your day. This is your episode. Why don't you take us on a journey?
Lucky that was only halfway to Rapeville, and the rest of this episode will contain zero rape. I'm 45 to 70% confident of that.
That doesn't seem like good odds to me, man.
In the year 1997, Dr. Malcolm Walsh performs a classified and highly experimental series of procedures on then FBI Special Agent Sean Archer. The operations included a full face transplant with extensive facial reconstruction, full dental replacement, multiple surgeries to the larynx and throat, and liposuction on almost every part of his body. It's estimated that the facial transplant took upwards of 50 hours alone. Whoa. Insane. Right. 1997.
Or
like holy shit.
Breaks.
Unclear about that. I would hope the doctor took breaks and hopefully he had plenty of assistance. That's a long stint. Like, when doctors have to take a shit, how do they deal with that?
That's a very good
They
question.
do it in a test tube that's 2 desks behind them.
They poop in a sock. Poop
Mom,
sock.
empty out my pants. No hot pockets. So the purpose
Scalpel,
of
please.
this operation,
Shit jar.
so the purpose of this insane operation was for Mr. Sean Archer to go deep undercover, posing as a freelance domestic terrorist by the name of Castor Troy, in hopes of gathering info on the whereabouts of a known threat somewhere located on the West Coast. Unfortunately, the plan backfired as he was unable to gather all the intel he needed in time. Fortunately, though, the threat was neutralized in other ways. No big deal. But the part that backfired for Sean here is as he attempted to debrief and re-enter back into his life, literally no one believed who he was. He had changed his body stature, his weight, his face, his dental records. Like, literally the only thing this guy has that is his own is, like, blood and his growing hair. And his skin, I guess, but... Like, he looks nothing like it. His family doesn't even believe it's him. So he's, like, months undercover, and he comes out, nobody believes who he is. He actually mistakenly spent time in prison as Castor Troy until he was able to prove via blood test that he was not him. Insane.
This is like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Dude, right?
This is like Face Off is what it is. This is Face Off.
It's a flying
Big
fruit.
Mama's house is what this is.
But you're lucky, Johnny. In the end, Sean Archer was able to defeat Castor Troy. He actually killed him with a spear gun, shot him at point blank, and ended up adopting Troy's son. Very cool. And of course, Johnny, as you know, I just described to you the plot of the movie Face Off, starring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I just said that. Wait, I'm confused. So wait, are you talking about...
Everything he just said was the plot of the movie Face Off, Johnny.
Are you talking about Face Off, or are you talking about a real instance?
No, it's the movie Face Off. Sean Archer.
That was the movie Face Off.
Castor Troy.
Yeah.
All of that was the movie Face Off.
Was there a rapey scene with the father and daughter, Travolta and the daughter? Like,
No.
Because that was
like I said
before,
before, I was very confident there was going to be no more rape in the rest. But
no, there was a creepy... I
there
remember
is
a
an
scene in Face
incestual
Off that was
kiss
like...
in there, though. That's very weird.
Maybe that was what it was.
Yeah, so was there in Star Wars as well.
No, this was all... They didn't know.
Yeah,
well, I guess
was.
she knew, but he didn't know. Well...
She knew at the time? Wait, she knew at the time?
Leia knew? Apparently. Didn't she? Did Leia not know? I thought... Wait.
I don't know. That's another
she didn't know.
podcast.
Wait. So I'm confused now.
Maybe she did.
I didn't know the names of the guys. I know who John Travolta and Nicolas Cage are, but... And that's a great movie, by the way. I like the movie a lot. But my question is, you described that movie... You're not describing a real situation, right?
Well, that did really happen in 1997. The procedure was by Dr. Malcolm Walsh. It happened to be a movie, yes, but it did happen in that movie. Correct.
I mean,
so the purpose
Face Off
of
was based
explaining
on true events?
This is based on no true events. Turns out the full facial transplant didn't actually happen until the 2000s, so they were a little off. The reason for this is the perfect segue into our topic for today, which is Paul is dead. So what we're going to be talking about today...
You Christopher Nolan the fuck out of us.
Taylor, I am so backed up, I can't even tell you what's happening.
He just opened with the plot of Face Off.
Yeah, okay. And then segued into... Who is dead?
Paul is dead is the name of the segment today.
Okay.
And we're not talking Paul the Shores.
It makes sense. Okay.
We're not talking Paul the Alien. We're talking Paul McCartney, bro. The Beatle, Paul McCartney.
Oh.
And how he may, in fact, be dead. So the reason for the face-off stuff is, like, they went to extreme lengths to, take this dude's identity. Like literally, they stole his face. They actually stole his face. I leave that part out. They take his face off and put it on John Travolta's
that's
face.
The quote.
He took his face off.
His
face came off.
Well, then they also faced off. It's a play on words.
Double entendre.
So that kind of shows you the extreme detail that you'd have to go through to really, convincingly take someone's place, take someone's life, replace someone.
Mm-hmm.
Not just, steal their banking information or their address, passcodes and shit like that. But you look like this person, You become this person. You insert yourself into their life. You're around their people, their family. Their family doesn't know that it's not you. You legally change your name.
Okay.
All that jargon.
So you're saying in this whole segment that I'm gonna try to pre-thought. I'm gonna try to get some foreshadow here. You're saying that you believe, or this segment's gonna be about Paul McCartney having somebody impersonate him, and he comes back and it's actually him, it's somebody else having his face. This whole time he's been dead.
Yeah, minus the actually taking his face part.
Someone's just impersonating him, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And it's not that far fetched. So I mean, there are plenty of cases in the past where people have stolen people's identities. I actually have this story. I played football when I was younger, right? When I was in pound ball, I was like 7th grade or whatever. Our football team was the shit. Obviously, we were amazing, and we make it all the way to the Super Bowl. Yeah, naturally, because I'm a jack. So we get all the way to the Super Bowl, right? And we're playing this team, like, they're our arch rivals from, like, down the road, the Blackwell Bears. And our team was so small, we barely had enough dudes to, like, officially have a team. We had to, like, go get our friends that didn't even play football to, like, join our team so we could be a team. This Blackwell team, they had so many kids on their teams that they formed, like, 3 different teams for our age group. And they were all labeled by colors. Like, there'd be a Blackwell black, Blackwell silver, Blackwell red. And I don't know if they chose who would play on these teams by, like, how good they were, but I'm sure they did a little bit. I'm sure they made at least 2 of those teams good. One, like, all the shit players were on. So we get to the Super Bowl. We'd already played one of the Blackwell teams. We're familiar with their players. We're playing one of the other Blackwell teams in the Super Bowl. There happened to be 2 people with the last name Flowers. And not to be like, I mean, an obvious, divisive. One guy was white, one guy was black. It was easy to tell. Okay. Mm-hmm. First time we play against the white guy, whatever. His team did not make it to the Super Bowl. So they dressed the other guy in his place, who apparently was better. Who knows? They dressed this other guy in his place with his jersey, and we played against him. It was crazy. And everyone on our team knew it. It was weird. Conspiracy, man.
There's a movie out there. There's actually 3 movies in my head.
Identity theft.
No.
Freaky Friday.
No. Well, no. Okay.
Blank check.
So I was like, stop. All right. 2 of them are pretty sure are Disney movies. One in which there's a motocross and the sister takes her brother's place. Another one about soccer and the sister takes her brother's place and competes because they look the same. And the other one, which has Eddie Murphy in it. And he takes a place of somebody else. I can't remember the names. I don't have a computer in front of me. What I'm saying is
Trading Places?
Yes, Trading Places.
Yeah.
That's
Places
not
with Dan
that's not
Aykroyd.
just faces, but that's taking somebody else's like security account and stuff.
Yeah.
Social security number. But with the other 2 movies, these 2 sisters, well, they're not related, but the sister and the brother, they take their place and essentially win. Like you're saying, they win because they took the place of their sibling, in this case, Flower to Flower.
All right, so Johnny is right where you want him right now, Taylor. I've never seen him get mind fucked so hard.
Dog.
Like his eyes were glazed like I've never seen before. And now that he's whatever soccer motocross bullshit he's thinking of right now, it doesn't matter. Taylor, this is your chance. Take him on a journey because he gets it now.
I'm pretty lost right now.
Here's an interesting story of someone who stole an identity, or not necessarily stole an identity, but have impersonated someone else for an extended period of time for some personal gain. So Treva Throneberry is not a character in Jumanji. She loved high school. She loved high school so much that she successfully conned her way into at least 5 different high schools over the course of 15 years. Her last escapade was in 1997 at the Evergreen High School in Vancouver when she was 28 years of age. Her plan was simple.
Wow.
She would arrive into a new town, go to a local church, tell them that she's a runaway with a history of abuse, and they would enroll her into the local school. She would make friends, join teams, win debates, be a normal high schooler for a few years. Then she would graduate, and she'd move on to another town and do it again. And she pulled it off in Texas, Idaho, Oregon, and Canada. And she even had a boyfriend. A high school boyfriend.
What?
She ended up getting
That's
caught.
kinda
It's
creepy.
unclear how she ended up getting caught, but she ended up serving only 3 years behind bars for some sort of fraud.
Yeah, there's no Juliet law in there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right?
That's like like that it's like the jock star in high school who like he's like I'm gonna live forever.
Yeah, I love high school.
I love high school, man. Fuck my job.
Van Wilder.
Fuck families.
Going back to high school.
Yeah, it's basically Van Wilder, and that's who this was. Where it's like the pinnacle of those people who just want like I'm gonna be in high school forever. I'm gonna live in this moment for the rest of my life.
Forever.
Until I get caught, that is.
So she had to get new friends, new teachers, new everything. Every single school she
Yeah,
went
like whole
to.
new experience.
Like that sounds like a lot
Which
of
is
work.
kind of cool.
It's a lot
That
of
part
work.
of it's cool.
Yeah, but like just like get new jobs.
Yeah, I would
like,
not
wouldn't
want to go
get-
back to
like,
high school
wouldn't
for nothing.
Yeah, wouldn't hanging out with like teenagers, just especially like
Yeah.
like
High school
as
teenagers.
things changed and progressed, like new TV shows, new bands, like pop culture was changing. You just be
Yeah.
like, man, fuck these nerds. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, it's actually like a lot of people in this age group these days, like they have a problem with like confidence in the workplace. So a lot of people, you know, they don't want to even enter the workplace. They would rather just stay in high school and just do the thing that they've been doing for 18 years rather than, you know, try this new thing called life once you graduate high
Well, it's
school.
the fear of
Like
the
if I could
unknown.
trade in all my, you know, pre-18 years and just like start at 18, like, dude, bring it on. It'd be so dope.
Oh,
Me too.
Same here.
Me too.
100%.
Kid stuff was cool. It was
It's the
fun. I
fear of
had
the
a
unknown.
great childhood, but like, dude, if I can eliminate all school, oh man, I would have 18 more years of experience doing something like a trade, like something valuable, you know? Sat there for
Right.
18
Yeah, life
years.
is short.
Just, you know, sitting there asleep at my desk.
Playing football.
I was a good
being
student,
a
anyway.
being a football star.
I was
Yeah.
not a good
Wait,
student.
fucking
I played
cross
football
to bear.
star, y'all. Yeah, I was 5'7", 150 pounds. You can imagine how threatening I was on the gridiron.
Oh, you were basically like a little Dwayne Johnson.
Little Dwayne the
Tay
Rock
Nelson?
Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson.
I was more stone cold than anything, really. If we're talking
And
WWF.
you still are.
WWF.
All right, so
Well, what the fuck?
we got one more person who was like, I don't know how this dude got away with what he did. This guy describes himself, has been described as the Leonardo da Vinci of mental manipulation.
Mm.
Hopefully I'm going to pronounce this guy's name right. I'm going to say Terry, even though there's a lot of different letters in here. I'm going to say Terry. So, Terry Tilley brainwashed a group of French elites into giving him tons of fucking cash. He claimed to be a descendant of the Habsburgs, which is also a secret agent working for a group called the Balance of the World. Tilley convinced 3 generations of French aristocrats that they were descendants of the Balance of the World members and that their lives were in mortal danger. He was able to swindle them out of $4.5 million and was able to convince them to move out of town into a town called Oxford and support themselves with normal labor jobs. Fucking crazy. Finally, one of them came to their senses, called the cops, because they were like, this doesn't make sense. Why would we just have to move and get a job? Like, so he was arrested for fraud and spent hella good time in jail, in prison. So, obviously what it takes to pull off a hoax like this is dedication. You know, you got to be dedicated. You got to stick with it. So as immersed as a trained method actor, like Daniel Day-Lewis or the great Ryan Gosling, to steal someone's identity would be to not only look, act, and speak like another person, but you have to really connect to that person's memories and past experiences, and you have to convince people and yourself that those memories are yours. You have to look like them physically, you have to become them mentally for extended periods of time, if not forever. Like change your eating habits, your likes, your dislikes, everything about your look, maybe your accent, maybe your gender. It's fucking crazy.
I mean, that's basically what method acting is. In the world
Right.
of movies, you have somebody like the guy who played Lincoln in the movie Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, and he became Lincoln on set. Everyone would call him Mr. Lincoln or Abe or Honest Abe. Or you have Heath Ledger, who plays Joker in Dark Knight, and they become that character. Unlike what's it called? Traditional acting. In method acting, you essentially embody the character, become them, and live as them, have their memories, do what they would do. And
Benicio del Toro became the Wolfman in the movie The Wolfman, and he was like peeing on things,
Exactly.
like peeing on chairs and
awesome.
trees.
Didn't the new Joker? What's his name? I was forgetting.
Jared Leto.
Didn't he send a dead pig to one of his co-stars?
Yeah, it was like a dead animal.
And like that's just method acting. So when you become the character, when you become this guy for the French elites, you got to go balls deep. If you don't, you're gonna get found out for sure.
Yeah, I think with that, you'd have to be solid with your plan, and you have to stick to it no matter what. Yeah, I read that Daniel Day-Lewis, when he was doing the Last of the Mohicans, he would only hunt his own food. He would only eat shit that he could hunt and forage himself.
He's crazy.
Insane.
He did Phantom Thread recently, and he actually made his own dress from scratch because that's what his character was, a dressmaker. And so he's like, I need to do it to immerse myself into the character. Like, no, you don't. Get the fuck out of here.
on small scale, when it comes to like things where you have to like become emotional on screen, I get that. But when you have to become the character, like, I don't personally notice a huge difference as an audience member.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, Taylor, you've calmed Johnny down. Like, he's in a really zen place right now because he feels like really confident that he knows what's going on.
Well, yeah.
But he has no idea the bombshell.
For the first time in this podcast, I know a little bit about what we're talking about, method acting and method, living. But that could easily change as it has in every episode.
He's just tiptoeing you. He's holding your hand. He's walking you down the road to get closer to the end goal. And when he gets there, you're in for a treat.
Dude, I'm excited for this.
So, William Shears Campbell, a.k.a. Billy Shears, was born into an underprivileged house of 10, presumably on November 15, 1943, in Liverpool. He was the lead man in a local rock act called Billy Pepper and the Pepper Pots. And by 1964, they were considered one of Liverpool's finest acts. Now, rumor has it that in 1965, the Beatles, yes, the famed Beatles, held a lookalike contest, and this Billy won for his uncanny resemblance of Paul McCartney. Now, everything I just told you could be true. Maybe it's not fucking true. I can't explain to you the whirlwind of different fucking facts that I found trying to research this topic. Literally every fact that I just listened to you, I found 4 or so alternatives, all the way down to his fucking name. Like William Campbell Shepard, Billy Shepard, Billy Shears. I think William Spears was one of them. Some people say he was born in September. Some people say November. Some people say he was from Alabama and wasn't even English. It's fucking crazy. But the weirdest part is that this band, Billy Pepper and the Pepper Pots, apparently was not even a real band. But you can find their shit online. They're apparently like a house band put together by a record label, one of the same record labels as involved with the Beatles. And they would put together like mixtape type albums from people in the city, in Liverpool at the time. And they were constantly playing on those. Their lead singer, this guy named Billy Shears. They sounded just like the Beatles, but just shittier, kind of, It's all at the same time, so I'm sure everyone was trying to play that stuff.
Yeah.
Just shittier.
Everyone was doing it. The Monkees, the Zombie, like everyone was sounding like the Beatles.
So apparently it is 100% fact that the Beatles held a lookalike contest. What is not fact, apparently, is that supposedly no winners were ever announced. But then again, I found information that said there was another announced winner. But we won't even dig into that. So,
well, it's very possible. It's very possible that this guy, Billy Shears, those different things, he could have been a real person. This is a possibility I'm just thinking about right now. And he would have given out his name, obviously, as the wrong name. Like he could have been like method acting as this guy, but not doing it correctly. Like we talked about earlier, like he's immersing himself, but like saying the wrong last name. Who knows?
He's trying to create a whole nother character.
Literally, yeah. Like he doesn't want to like be found out. Like imagine if you were impersonating Paul McCartney, you wouldn't want your name to be connected to the
like your family. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, the people around you that share your lineage, your same last name.
So he could have easily just like picked a different name, like fuck that name up 1,000 times. I could easily do that. Like if I wouldn't remember my alleged my screen name, and then that could be where we are now.
I guess his artist name is
has
actually
these different
Billy
opinions
Pepper
of who he is.
in this case.
Well, yeah, BPPP, Billy Pepper and the Pepper Pots.
Yeah, so just remember that Billy Pepper and the Pepper Pots, and also his artist name possibly being Billy Shears. Just keep that in the back of your head. So it's possible. It's rumored that he was actually hired by the band's manager, Brian Epstein, as a writer for their monthly magazine. So the Beatles had a monthly magazine that was just like, everything Beatles, all the Beatles are doing. Obviously, they have writers. Apparently, this person was one of the writers. He was a left-handed guy, apparently a really talented musician, good composer. He could sing well. Obviously, he would have to if he's going to impersonate Paul McCartney. Not only impersonate Paul McCartney, but literally be Paul McCartney. What's odd about William Shears Campbell, a.k.a. Billy Shears, as in 1966, he completely disappeared from all history. There is no trace of him post-1966. Fucking weird.
Wow.
Fuzzy about the date of this, but at 5 a.m. in the morning on September 9th or 11th, some people say it was in November, 1966, James Paul McCartney was in a fatal car accident where he was decapitated instantly. In a panic.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Wait. You're saying that there is a story or a report where Paul McCartney's got decapitated in 1966?
Yeah, there are images too.
1966. Yeah, there are plenty of images of the car. You can see the car. There's no like decapitation images or whatever, but you see the car. It's a mangled old car.
That's a story.
Yeah, it looks like the car with like the James Dean car or whatever. Like it's trashed.
Yeah. That sounds really coincidental.
Very coincidental, doesn't it?
Or consequential?
He got like in a fight too. Like it was raining, and he got in a fight with the band, and then left angrily.
Paul did?
Yeah, and then that's when he flipped.
Yeah,
he like crashed the car into a tree and got decapitated.
Allegedly decapitated, and this is the same.
No, definitely
But
decapitated.
you didn't see pictures.
I mean, definitely decapitated. You know, I mean, history is saying that he was decapitated. Oddly enough, on September 11th, 1966. Hopefully, that doesn't connect to. Never forget, trade towers and shit.
Yeah. It's crazy that you say that. In my mind, you can't come back from that. You can't come back from your head coming off. So
there's 0% chance of that. But since you bring that up, there is actually a case of there has been a case of a full head transplant on a monkey. I believe the monkey
brain
lived full head.
No, head.
Full head. Brain has been done. Partial brains have been done on mice, but the full head was transplanted onto a monkey to monkey, and it was able to survive for like 9 days.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say in that scenario, I'm sure that they had two monkeys side by side and a practice surgeon. But in this case, Paul McCartney was in a car accident, and he actually was probably mangled. Not only G-force, like collision, concussion, blood trauma, brute force, all those things, and a severed head. All those things.
Yeah, you could probably not tell what some body parts were.
And then there wasn't a doctor right there to like do the surgery. So there's no way that could be done. If I'm not saying he did, because I haven't seen the report, but if he was decapitated, there's no way you could come back from that. There's not a plausible situation.
Right. It's certainly part of the story it's not part of the story that he lived from this. That is in no way part of the story.
I love that that's what Johnny was hung up on.
No, I'm saying that
guys, like, there's no way a man who has a decapitated head is coming back from that.
I'm saying if that is a true story, then he has to have been impersonated.
Exactly. And it's just so odd that, late 1966, also when, Billy Shears disappears from the map. And it's also, it's a well-known fact, actually, that all of the Beatles had multiple body doubles. They had to. Beatlemania was like a real thing. Like when these chicks, like especially in America, like when they finally made it over to America, what they describe as Beatlemania is ridiculous. Like not the same kind of thing as chicks being all about Justin Bieber. You know, probably some chicks crying or whatever when he's there, kissed on the cheek. Oh my God, my life, I just freaked out. But these women, girls, passing out, having to go to the hospital, hyperventilating, not able to control their bodily functions. One person described the presence of these girls. They'd be so tightly packed, uncontrollable. This one guy described a river of urine coming from a crowd of these girls one time. Like that would be a common occurrence. It's just filth, bullshit. What's that?
It's a common belief medically that if your body is relaxed, not like excited about the Beatles, or whatever, but if your body is relaxed and you feel comfortable, your bladder can release itself. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a side effect of seeing your biggest fans. And I'll say I saw a music video when I was younger, black and white music video from the Beatles, and the whole premise was them running away from fangirls. So I can
think of like Hard Day's Night, I think. Yeah, that was the whole video. There's like them running away, and like apparently that is not far from the truth. You know, like that's apparently really the way it was. So they had to have body doubles. I can believe it. Yeah, and they would, you know, just like you would imagine, you know, the car would come in with the supposed Beatles, the body doubles get out, everyone freaks the fuck out, they're hushed into the venue, you know, but all the while the real Beatles are, you know, snuck in the back somewhere, some other way. So they're
who's the real
verifiably
Beatles?
Body doubles of all four of them out there, and they had multiples. So there are multiple people out there in the world who were these body doubles. What's that?
Yeah, that was like public information. People knew that. Like that's you can look that up and like
I can believe it.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing. Like they were so big, having body doubles in case they were, and especially more after when John Lennon was assassinated.
Yeah,
they beefed that up even more.
And kind of a weird
years after that,
kind of a weird side to that is a lot of people speculate. This sounds really crazy. A lot of people speculate that there were multiple Beatles in general that would play on stage because people have mapped out their strenuous tour schedule, which they only toured for a few years. A lot of people don't realize that. They actually stopped touring in 1966, which is another odd part of this. They never toured again after that.
Weird.
Right. I mean, they blame it on stress and like, we were on tour for 3 years straight and we're done with the Beatlemania. Let's just make some records. But rock bands, the reason rock bands exist is to go play live shows. So it's kind of weird that right where you're in like your peak, right at the peak, they stopped performing.
It's not weird for me because if one of my band members got decapitated, I would stop the band. I would stop the band for sure. So it's not weird to me at all. If once again I am this is all the dependent variable or whatever. This all hinges on the fact that he did get decapitated.
Yeah, even if he wasn't decapitated, the thought is he died on that day in that car crash.
Yeah, that is weird.
In a panic, Brian Epstein, their manager, brought in Billy Shears, who was, obviously a lookalike and on his staff already. He brings him in to replace Paul McCartney, and they plan on having him be a replacement for about 2 weeks. That's the original goal. Have him be there for like 2 weeks. They'll figure out how they're going to break this to the world, and then they'll break it to the world. So it turns out, though, they really liked Billy Shears. He looked exactly like Paul McCartney. He sounded fairly close. He played bass and guitar well. He apparently was good. He was a good composer. Oddly enough, if you chart the Beatles' hits, most of their hits came post-1966. And a lot of people say that 1966 is a big turning point in their writing styles and their whole style of music. Which that it was kind of a big turning point. That's when they stopped touring and they kind of got all hippie, started doing drugs, did the whole India thing. So there's like a 3-year period there from 66 to 69 where they're really experimenting with drugs, really becoming different people, not so much the flower pop band that they were before. So that could have something to do with the change in style, but a new composer coming on the scene would obviously have an effect on your writing style as a band.
There's a lot of different avenues you can take with this. Either Billy Shears came into it, just happened that the manager said, "Hey, come on," or the Beatles on purpose killed Paul just so they could have a new person in, or Billy did it. It was an inside job, and just so he could get the limelight. However you slice it, whatever hypothetical or tale folklore you go into, it's still really crazy that they got more popular post death. That says something about like all these options of like why that would happen. Like,
right.
I didn't think Paul was a bad composer. I mean, this whole time I thought it was actually him composing it, but it blows me away.
Well, if you think about if they did change writing styles, they got deeper into metaphysical stuff, really trippy stuff, and got off girl love song type stuff. I think that really opens the doors to, like, obviously music lovers already love them because they're great, musicians and they write great melodies and whatnot. But, when you really change your style to be more artistic, people are probably going to gravitate towards that more, I would say, especially when they're growing out of their young teen years. These girls were 14 and 15 when they're doing, yeah. Like, they got to go somewhere after that. So maybe that's something to do.
Well, they were writing like pops. They were writing pop songs, and when Billy Shears took over as, I mostly believe this whole entire thing, which is why
I'm going to be honest. I believe it too. I'm going to go out. I believe it.
Yeah.
Even though most of the information
I
I've found has been bogus, but I still do.
Yeah, but the whole idea, because the government eventually, spoiler alert, we'll cover it in just a little bit. The government becomes involved, and that's what's so important, is that because the government became involved, finding the correct information, like there should be holes in these stories. If all the information was easy to find, it would be online to be easy. But like if the government was involved and they buried this, the information should be hard to find. But the fact that the music style changed and they went from playing like pop music to weird experimental like music that really wasn't for anybody, but because they were so big, people were just like, oh, the fucking Beatles are the greatest thing in the world. And like the music was just really bizarre.
Brand loyalty.
They were loyal, but I think there was a hope that if they wrote more experimental music, their fan base would teeter and people wouldn't notice the specific things. And I don't want to spoil it because Taylor's going to dive into it, but like there are specific factors about this false Paul, this Billy Shears, that they're a dead giveaway that it's not actually Paul McCartney. So they were trying to target like stoners, people who were tripping on acid with this new style of music that they were composing and that they were creating in hopes that, the non-stoner fan base, the non-high fan base would drop off and not notice this false Paul.
There are clues, an insane amount of clues that are obviously purposeful. I mean, there's no way to like accidentally slip some of these in here. Like these are huge, huge big clues, which could be, it's possible that at some point, Brian Epstein, brilliant manager, marketer, and he pretty much made them from nothing into Beatlemania. Like, what if you came up with this plan to like fake one of their deaths? Get a bunch of, either fake one of their deaths or just have a story out there that, one of them's dead, oh my God, just to get people talking about him again. And then who knows? Maybe the sales would go up. Oddly enough, there are huge spikes in the sales after these stories drop. So the way,
of course,
yeah. The way well, to stick with Nick's point here, let's talk about some of the more simple differences with fake Paul, which from this point on we'll call him Fall. That's what they call him out in the world. Call him Fall. So one of the main differences in Fall is that he's like 3 inches taller than Paul. Like 3 inches. It's not like slightly taller. It's like 3 inches taller. And one of the things with the Beatles, pre-66, is that Paul McCartney and John Lennon were almost exactly the same height. They're 5'11". Almost exactly the same height. John Lennon's right-handed, Paul McCartney's left-handed. So they stand there next to each other and they can sing on the same mic. And it looks cool and artistic and, because their guitars are opposite directions and whatnot. And they're the same height. and they sing these insanely tight harmonies. So it's like a really cool thing. So when you throw one of them in there that's now 3 inches taller, like that's a completely different artistic show. You can tell, and then from the get-go, that setup wouldn't just be as cool from the get-go. Like it wouldn't have the impact
see a difference.
as it would if they were the same height. He was much more slender than Paul McCartney. He had a much more narrow face, a longer chin, a longer face. And in around 1967, Fall showed evidence in the outside corner of his eyes that he had recently had eye surgery to mimic the pre-66 Paul McCartney's eyes. He has this like distinct fold over in the corners of his eyes that kind of give him that puppy dog droopy look. And while Billy Shears already had the main look, this guy looked almost identical to Paul McCartney anyways. So he gets this eye surgery to fix the corners. Apparently ends up getting a chin surgery to fatten his chin a little bit. One of the biggest red flags about Fall is his earlobes. Fall's earlobe is disconnected. It comes off the face, it droops into an earlobe, and it comes back into the ear. Where Paul McCartney, his earlobes just comes right off his face and goes up to his ear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a recessive
that doesn't change.
Trait.
Like unless you, exactly. That doesn't change unless you pierce your ears and you gauge them out or whatever, and they start to droop. Another
not the opposite way though.
What's that?
But not the opposite way. They don't go from droopy to connected.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Falls were disconnected, but so it would be going from yeah.
Oh.
So I guess you shine some light on that. There's a possibility that his ears just stretched out when he was older, but that part of the earlobe, like I'm pretty sure that's something that does not change in people. Another thing that does not change in people, although you can make it look different, is the natural crown in your hair. Johnny, you know about the crown in people's hairs, right? You got a big old crown.
No,
in your
yeah,
hair.
that's also a recessive, I don't think I do. Are you talking about like the little point at the front?
Yeah, like your cowlick or whatever.
I don't have that in the front of my hair, actually. Surprisingly enough, I have a flat. I think that's the dominant trait. You're talking about like the one that comes out to a little point versus the one that's just flat.
Well, I guess your crown is the side that it parts on, naturally.
Oh, maybe I don't know what it is.
He thought he did, but he has no fucking clue.
See, Johnny does his hair extensively, so it's possible that he does such weird maneuvers with his hair that he has no idea where his natural crown is.
Yeah.
Walk us through your hair process, Jonathan.
I'm actually so glad you asked me that. So it really took off in high school. I used to just grow my hair out a long way and have my dad just cut it down to like a 4 buzz cut. But then I realized, you know what? Screw that. I want to actually have some style in my hair. I don't have amazing looks. I don't have amazing height. So you know what? I'm going to style my hair. That's also subjective. Who knows? Maybe someone thinks I'm attractive. Shout out. So what I was saying.
I don't know what the fuck you just said, Johnny.
Okay, well, you asked me about my hair, so I got to go fast because it's a long process. So
no, you just literally tell me the process.
I'm about to. It's a long process. So
I didn't need the backstory.
The process yet.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the forestory why I did it. So, anyways, I first take a shower really quickly, depending on the day. Shampoo, conditioner, no problem. I have to dry it out to a nice like damp or semi-dry. Then I'll blow dry all to one side, flip it the other way so that this hair kind of stands up on itself. Then this is where it gets crazy. I with a 5-inch straightener straighten my hair and curl it but kind of turn it over like a wave. Done it for a couple years, and then I maybe put like a product in it, pomade. Maybe I don't. Depends on the day. But that's the process. This whole entire time, I just never knew what a crown was.
Johnny is basically Christian Bale in American Psycho.
I thank you.
Without the hatchets and chainsaws. I mean, did you feel that business card though?
Maybe. That one went over Johnny's head. He's never seen American Psycho.
I haven't. I thought I did.
What?
Nope.
Oh man, that was a good one, dude. That's a good one.
Good. That's so good. Anyway, back to Fall.
Back to cowlick. So you're saying his cowlick was different?
Yeah. So pre-1966, his cowlick or crown on his hair was on one side. I believe it was his left. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that it was on one side. Post 66, it's on the other side. for 30 or 40 years, current Paul McCartney, it's now on the original side, which some people have pointed out. Take a look at Paul McCartney. I think he wears a wig. So that could explain it. I don't know why he wouldn't just keep with the same crown side that he's had for the past 40 years. You know?
Let me change it up.
Maybe so. Yeah, maybe change it up. And I don't want to like disrespect Paul McCartney, but because obviously he's great. He's a great musician. You know, we love him.
That's
We love
Sir
his
Paul
music.
McCartney to
He's
you,
a sir.
Taylor?
He's a Sir Paul McCartney.
He's been
He
knitted.
looks like he has had a significant amount of plastic surgery. You know, he looks like one of
Well,
those
even
people. Like
there's
he's
that-
got like a Michael Jackson, Caitlyn Jenner like thing going on. I don't want to be disrespectful, but yeah.
No.
Well,
That happens.
there's even a scar that appeared, and they say in the whole false Paul scenario that his chin or jawline, one of the things that it wasn't close enough to Paul McCartney, so he actually went under the knife, and they botched his face. So Paul, after 1966 or Fall, had a scar on his chin, and it's been there ever since.
But I wouldn't relate that to Fall or Paul.
Who'd you relate it to?
The populace. Anybody.
What?
Wait 1 second. I'm going to get there. Anybody, myself included, when you get to a certain age, I'm not sure how old he was in 1966, but you have, I would say, like a midlife crisis. People get plastic surgery. Bruce Willis did it. Michael Jackson did it.
He was like 20-something.
Dude, I know people who were 18 who've gotten plastic surgery.
But this is also in the 60s too, man.
Jobs.
Like, you know, I don't know
That's
if,
true.
if it was that prevalent.
That's true. It wasn't. Or I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't think
Only
plastic
TV
surgery
shows,
was like.
I mean, facial transplants didn't happen
super
until the
illegal.
2000s or 1997, if you will.
So, but you're saying that one of them, Fall or Paul, got surgery on his chin definitively.
Fall got surgery because his chin was the one thing they were afraid.
Yeah,
like
he had
they
a
being
really
the management
slender
and the
chin.
government.
And Paul McCartney had a
So
really
they had to
like
broaden
robust,
his chin.
fatty kind of chin. So they had to round it out a little bit. And I think his clef was in a different position.
Yeah, it was so important to get it right because, like, the government became involved because they were genuinely concerned about the well-being of the fans in Beatlemania, and they were afraid that there was going to be like a mass suicide if they found out if the fans found out Paul died.
Probably.
Yeah, MI5.
I mean, it's legit.
MI5 investigated to see. I believe they didn't actually investigate until it was like the 2000s. I'm pretty sure, but they investigated if someone could be an imposter. I forget what they call it, the Knight's Court or whatever, because he is a sir, so it would definitely affect things going on in their country. But not only that, like, it would take so many higher ups, it would take so many people involved in this on the ground level, like right around like the social circle of these people, like to carry this on, like right from the get go. Like, I mean, he was married, he had, a family, he has a twin brother. He's got a mother, like, where are these people? What's their reaction to it? Fall became Paul. To all these other people, there was no difference. Like if Mary-Kate and Ashley, like, well, I guess, like if one of them passed away, I guess their parents know which one's Mary-Kate, which one's Ashley. I guess that's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the weird things
earlier.
is that is apparently a non-issue in this whole thing. That's something that came up zero in any of the research is, what the wife says, what the family says, what the butler
it's a point
says,
against Fall.
shit like that. Yeah,
I don't
what
think
about
it is.
Fall?
I think the government came in and because there's also some rumors that got out that like the government threatened because Fall, it almost became too much for Fall, and the management, like his manager, could not contain him anymore. So the government became involved. Like, this is now a government crisis. If you disobey, we will kill you.
People will commit suicide if you essentially disobey, and therefore
Then the government's like, yeah, you're going to become a harm to millions of people.
You're like a terrorist at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as like the wife and kid go, the wife, kid, brother, all that, they were riding on Paul's fame.
That makes sense.
So if Fall fucked up and the Beatles broke up, all that money and all that fame would just go away. but
Right.
because they kept going and
And
they
we're talking
persevered, like some
Fuck ton of
say,
money.
yeah, like a lot, but a lot of their gains came from at post 1966 when they wrote all that weird experimental shit.
So,
Right.
if in my mind, if Fall this whole time, I mean, he's not dead yet, right? I saw him. Am I crazy? I saw him in a music fest or awards.
Paul
ceremony.
McCartney?
Yeah. So he's an old guy now, or that's disrespectful. He's an older gentleman. And if I was
old as
Fall,
fuck.
if I was a Fall, okay. So if I was old as fuck and I wanted to be dead, I wanted to not be this for so long. Why wouldn't he just fake his own death and be away? But he's still in pop culture at this point.
I mean,
his
he would have to
demos are
do it
gone.
again.
So why?
You know?
I'm
Why
saying, but
even?
what-
Like,
is-
at this point, he is, when he was in his 20s, he gave up Billy Shears. He became Paul McCartney. I would be fine being Paul McCartney and not Billy Shears. No
Right.
disrespect to
Yeah,
who he
at a
was
certain
before.
point. No, at a certain point, and this is a hypothetical I want to ask you guys, like, would you go for like $100 million? Would you go 100 years in the future and forget everybody you had back here? It's a crazy hypothetical I've had. You heard it said, or is that too fast? For $100 million, would you go 100 years in the future and forget everything you had back here and live your own life? It's a hypothetical I've had for my life for a long time, because like the people you'd lose, the life you've built is gone, like Billy Shears, but you get to be Paul McCartney and have $100 million. You get what I'm saying? Because I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
No, I wouldn't, because it's like, why? Why would you do that? But I think that's so different from would you become someone else in this current time period?
Yeah, it's more.
Yeah.
It's more difficult.
I think that's like, would you become someone else? It's like, well, you'd still be around all these people and you'd be connected to these people in some way.
Yeah, you have responsibilities.
So it's so different, instead of literally like everyone you loved, cared about, whatever is gone, and you get to go 100 million years in the
All right,
future
valid.
when the Earth is a fucking hole in space. It's all burnt out.
Instead of a donut hole, it's a hole.
It is.
Oh my gosh, so that makes sense. I still find a hard time believing in the fact that this whole time he hasn't just like pulled the plug. Like, what is he?
Why would he? He's become Paul. He's like Benicio del Toro and Wolfman, or
nobody else that knew, the family, the friends.
if they're making money and like he has been Paul McCartney
What about-
since 1966.
What's a friend of the friend of the friend that knows Paul eats with this silverware that certain way, or he says this certain thing about this certain type of music? I'm telling you, if I was friends with somebody until like they were 20 or whatever Paul was when he was 1966, and I knew all their mannerisms, a friend of a friend of a friend knew my mannerisms, there's no way the government would find that many people. I find it hard to believe.
Today's podcast, just like last week's podcast, is brought to you by GLORP Gum. If you guys want to buy an amazing piece of gum and also get a free t-shirt with it, you can do that right now. The gum is delicious and the t-shirt is dope as hell. We have an offer code. You can go over to glorpgum.com and type in the code I'm a Broliever, I''M space A space Broliever, BROLIVER, and you can save 15% on an order of $20 or more, which is friggin' sweet.
To really get into some of these notable clues that Sir Fall and the rest of the Beatles have left behind in their music and on their albums and in their printed releases, we're going to need to talk about how this whole rumor possibly got started. So, in September of 1969, Tim Harper, an editor at the Drake University school newspaper, published an article called "Is Beatle Paul McCartney Dead?" referring to rumors that had been circulating around the campus citing clues from their recent albums. Some of those notable clues, one that you might already be familiar with is the Abbey Road cover. Pretty familiar with them, just like walking on the crosswalk,
Yeah, actually, you, Nick, and I all were in England and tried to recreate that photo.
Right, exactly. And we didn't do it because, God, Abbey Road is like hours away from London. That's
We also
come
needed
on,
a fall.
geography.
Or a
Geography, get your shit together. Move cities into where I'm staying.
Maybe if the Earth was flat, we could make it all the way to Abbey Road in less than 3 hours.
Jump over.
It's weird. So I don't know. I was going to try and not sound like a flat Earth theorist. So to explain, the Abbey Road cover is basically the dudes, the four beats, the beat mans, crossing the street, and They are led by Mr. John. He's dressed in all white. It says that he is the priest.
Mm-hmm.
Ringo, all black, as the Undertaker.
Ringo Starr.
Next in line is Sir Paul, or Sir Fall. He is actually barefoot in this photo, symbolizing him as the corpse. Mm-hmm. And then George taking up the rear in a Canadian tuxedo, all blue jeans, as the gravedigger. Now, in the background of this shot, there is a car, an English car, could be VW, I don't know. You know, English cars, how tight they look. So on the license plate on the back, it says a couple letters, blah, 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 and then it says 28IF, 28IF. And oddly enough, if Paul McCartney would have lived past 1966, he would have been 28. So cool little clue that has been thrown. Two clues on that. Oddly enough, I never thought about that. Like, Paul McCartney is like the original 27. Like, he's not considered one of the 27. You know, one of the people that die when they're 27. Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin. They all died when they were 27. So did Paul McCartney. What the fuck? This is crazy. Never noticed that. Yeah, never noticed that. Man, Club 27.
Sure Avicii just died. He's like 28.
Yeah. Who?
I think Avicii was 27.
Oh, Avicii? Yeah, I didn't see how old Avicii was.
He just died.
Was Avicii 27? Let's Google that shit.
I'm sure he was around that age.
He might have been. He might have been younger than that.
Okay, you guys Google that. I'll sit here with my pen and paper and just kind of stare out.
Yeah, draw numbers and just see what he was. 28. 28.
I actually have been drawing this whole time.
He was 28.
So I actually know. You know,
maybe that was alluding to him.
So I'm actually 32 years old. So I'm sorry, Concrete Supergun, my bandmates, but apparently I'm not one of the 27, and neither are y'all. We could still be successful, though. Don't worry. We could still be successful.
I can still make it.
I'm gonna be 27 next week.
What? Oh shit, dude! This is gonna be a nail biter of a year for you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So several printed ads, printed covers, back covers, posters, marketing stuff shows all four of the Beatles, and sometimes artistically, sometimes photos. And a lot of these post 66, Paul McCartney is he's basically doing what the other three are not doing. So if the other three are facing forward, he faces backwards or to a different side. If the other three are facing to a side, he stares directly into the camera. Just another way to like isolate him as like, hey, look at that guy. Kind of weird.
Well,
like he's not one of us.
Well,
you can't sit here.
You can't sit here.
Okay.
That's a very, very subtle clue, you know. Could be something, could just be an artistic choice. I mean, if you go back to the classic South Park episode that features Faith Plus One, and you'll see the sequence where Eric Cartman directs the photo shoot for the cover, one guy has to be looking away if it was going to be an artistic cover, right? It just makes sense.
It's too coincidental, though.
But that happens a lot in art.
Exactly,
like, I remember growing up, and I'd see a lot of different bands, and like there'd be the front man, whether it's Anthony Kiedis or like Billy Joe, and there'd be either the lead singer or a band, even like in sync or whatever. There'd always be like the one guy like Zayn in one direction, you know. There would be the one guy that's like, just different.
You got JT.
They emphasize on that.
Justin Timberlake. Boom.
They emphasize on the difference.
But what's odd about the Beatles is like there's no lead man. You know, you could argue
there isn't.
Yeah, you could argue that John Lennon and Paul McCartney were both the lead guys, but dude, George Harrison has hella hits. I mean, Ringo Starr has number one hits.
Ringo.
Yeah, that's what they say. Everyone hates Ringo, but like he's got number one hits that he wrote. You know, like, and not only that, he has had an uber successful career as a solo artist. And if you talk to like, I saw this interview. It was like interviews with great drummers. So it was like obviously Dave Grohl's on there, Chad Smith was on there, some other badass drummers, and they're talking about Ringo Starr. And they're talking about how he's one of the greatest drummers of all times for his simplistic style that, like, people just can't really replicate. That may sound dumb. Like, that may seem dumb. There are probably some amazing drummers out there like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. But I don't know. I'm just repeating what Dave Grohl said. And as we all know, he is an archangel. So, if anybody knows the true story of Fall, I bet you Dave Grohl knows the fucking truth. He's like rock god.
You best believe he does.
Best believe, yeah. He's made songs with Paul McCartney or Fall McCartney, if you will. He knows what it is.
False McCartney.
So is Kanye West.
That's actually what made Paul McCartney famous.
Oh yeah,
Gosh,
dude. All right, yeah. So when that song came out,
Kanye West track.
like, dude, I saw the video and I was like, oh man, Paul McCartney made a song with Kanye. Whack. But okay, we'll see where that goes. I see all the social media comments and shit. All these people are like, damn, this guy is so lucky Kanye put him up like that. Now everybody knows who he is.
oh my gosh.
Some old English guy.
You're having me
He's
off,
probably a
mate.
school teacher. Now, here's an odd fact.
That's funny.
Stupid.
Paul McCartney, with his time with the Beatles, only raked in $7 million.
What?
$7 million as a Beatle.
Inflation, probably
660
like,
million.
I don't know, like 20.
660 million post Beatles, mainly due to his solo career and Wings, if you will. And I'm sure some of that this is his net worth, so that does include Apple money and shit like that. But Ringo, they say he's worth about 300 mil right now. Pretty crazy.
Really weird.
That's insane.
I don't know. That to me, that seems backwards.
Yeah.
What, you think Ringo should have 660 million? Or are you saying he should have made
I'm saying that, like,
as a Beatle?
Yeah.
Well, you got to
Yeah,
imagine.
I'm saying, like,
this
it
was in
seems-
the 60s. So I'm sure those dollar amounts equate to something
inflation
different.
inflation, it goes up as well, but like, I mean, only till recently would I say a lot of my friends or even people that I hang around, are into vinyls, into like oldie music. Like when I was growing up, it wasn't like that cool for my friend group to listen to oldie music, and so from my personal opinion, I think like it would be weird that he would be making so little.
Johnny's also 19, so he grew up with One Direction.
22. First off, Nick, you old man, you 26-year-old.
Well, hey, one weird thing, if you look at the Beatles' catalog, if you kind of start at the beginning of their career and you look at all their hit singles, most of their hit singles for the first couple of years were cover songs. So that has to dig into their pockets a great bit. Yeah, there's a surprising amount of cover songs. But that was back in a time in music where everybody covered each other's songs. You might go to a concert and hear the same song 3 times. Like, the same song 3 times. None of the bands that played it are the band that wrote it, but they all played it, and they played it a different way. Like if you've seen like Walk Hard or whatever Johnny Cash. I say Walk Hard like that's the documentary about Johnny Cash. But yeah, it kind of illustrates it in those movies. You see these bands, they'll play the same songs over and over and over, and they're not their songs. It's fucking weird. It's definitely not the way it is done today.
That's interesting because a lot of times I'll remember a song from the 60s and 70s that I remember being from, let's say John Lennon, let's say Paul McCartney, and it's actually not even their song. So I definitely believe And they're so iconic as voices that there have been times I've heard another band, like I heard a band, maybe it was 2012, 14 or so. The band pops on the radio and it's Tame Impala, and I'm like freaking out because I legitimately think Paul McCartney just came out with a new song, and I'm like, this is the dopest Paul McCartney song I've ever fucking heard. Holy shit! Turns out it's Tame Impala, and I'm an idiot. Yeah. Damn it.
Well, didn't they, like, in the music too, weren't there like secret things that they hid in the music that was like Fall finally had enough, and he's like, I want people to know, but I can't say because they'll kill me, so I gotta hide it.
Yeah, I heard it in a couple of stuff. Like, Hey Jude, there's this whole thing. I forgot. It's just like back in high school I heard this, but there was some like part of the song you can hear somebody like begging for help. Like it's subtext in some songs when it's backwards, like when it's like Mercy by Kanye, or there's a Pink song when the song's played backwards, and it's a message.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure if I was Fall, I definitely want to make some kind of like thing to make people think that I was. So.
Yeah, there are a handful of audible, like, play the record in reverse and it says something. There are a couple of those, like Paul is dead, random phrases, pretty grim sounding phrases, but like if you really think about like the amount of time it would take to think of a phrase that makes sense going forwards, it makes sense in some artistic way, but then flip it around and it says the phrase that you're trying to say, like that seems very difficult. And not only that, like
only savants.
Only savants. Like I would imagine
Mozart.
that to do this back in the day, since they're working on tape, like the amount of time it takes to we got to flip the tape, we got to run it reverse, we got to do this, got to do that. Like they would have to have it in their head before they even recorded it, just because the amount of time it would take. It'd suck that creativity out.
For analog, it takes forever.
Yeah, it would just take fucking forever. And that seems pointless to me, but that is badass if they pull it off, and there are several of those cases. But I would say the most, like a whole bundle of clues just in one single place, is on their album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Now, if you've definitely seen the cover of this before. It's basically the four of them. They're in like military regalia, nice little jackets that look cool. There's a big kick drum in front of them that says the album name on it, Sgt. Pepper's, and there's like a collage of people behind them, like Monty Python style. Whole bunch of things in the pictures.
I can envision it.
You can envision it. So let's take the name of this album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. Now, if we take a look back to old Billy Shears, his stage name is Billy Pepper of Billy Pepper and the Pepper Pots. Now, if you've got a group, right, dude? Sgt. Pepper, that's Billy Pepper.
Whoa.
Lonely Heart Club Band. So let's say if you look at it the way it's written, the way I would read it, I wouldn't read it Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. I would read Lonely Heart as one thing. That's the name of the band, and then the description of them would be Sgt. Pepper's Club Band. So let's say that their name Lonely Hearts. Like, dude, there's a Billy Shear in there who's all by himself. Like, he's the only person who knows. No, they know he's Billy Shear, but the world doesn't know he's Billy Shear. He's lonely, man. That's him. And this is his. And maybe they're giving him a platform, or maybe they all want this, and they're really trying to get it out there in the most subtle way possible, very artistic way. But there are several things on this cover. One of them, above Paul McCartney's head, or Fall McCartney, if you will, is a open hand palm right above his head. It's supposed to be like a Masonic symbol of death, symbolizing that he's the dead one. There's a coffin laid out in front of all of them, right in the foreground, covered with flowers and whatnot. On top of that coffin, a left-handed guitar. Paul McCartney was the only left-handed Beatle. Very odd. Random other things. If you take,
so weird.
If you take words, there are words written in flowers on the bottom of this thing, and you can block out the letters, and it clearly says Paul is dead. Odd. Then on the kick drum itself,
what the fuck?
Yeah.
So many crazy symbols, yeah. And on the kick drum itself, where it says Lonely Hearts, if you take a mirror and you pop that mirror like halfway down the word, to where it mirrors the top half of the word, it says like the Greek numerals of like the date in which he died. I forget exactly what the breakdown is, but it's the Roman numerals of the date of his death.
Well, his coat, too, on Paul McCartney's coat on the cover of that album, there's a patch that says OPD, and OPD stood for officially pronounced dead.
Right.
I'm speechless right now.
Yeah.
It's
so
an insane amount of things. Not only, here's this one that is just so crazy. So afterwards, they claim that that there is a character named Billy Shears on this album. They say he's a fictitious character named Billy Shears, and that's his band. The whole album is like, this is Billy Shears' band. Sgt. Pepper, Billy Shear, this is Billy Shears' band. They also somehow say that Ringo is supposed to embody this character in the album in some way, which is weird. I don't quite understand that. But here is a line from one of the songs, a few lines from one of the songs off the album. I don't really want to stop the show, but I thought that you might like to know that the singer's going to sing a song, and he wants you all to sing along. So let me introduce to you the one and only Billy Shears. And then Ringo starts to sing.
What?
That's fucking mind-blowing, dude.
It's fucking nuts. But and that's all. And the crazy thing is, that's all just that record, because there's
one record,
the American album, Yesterday and Today, where if you flip it sideways, it's Paul McCartney laying in a coffin.
Right, yeah.
So if you turn the album and just rotate it, there's that.
And there's a whole series
another
of pictures
line
where
and another.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh my god. No, I'm blowing my mind right now. Honestly, like so I try to stay as skeptical as I can, as open minded as I can for a lot of these things. I can't. For a lot of things, I stay open minded and I can't. I almost like can't agree with it. I can't see eye to eye with you guys. But for this whole time, I've been like skeptical. But that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, right.
Well, they even say in like the Strawberry Fields Forever song, they say "I buried Paul," which is spoken by John Lennon.
They try and say say that on that line, he's actually saying cranberry sauce, and that like it took them so much time to figure out what phrase they can say that will sound like Paul is dead when it's mumbled up. Fucking weird.
Yeah, and then there's what the "Turn Me On, Dead Man" song in Revolution 9, where they're like, "Turn me on, dead man, turn me on, dead man," if you play it in reverse.
And literally in all of their solo careers, they make even more obvious, clues and hints, mostly audibly in the music via lyrics or like that "Turn Me On, Dead Man," like something that's looping or something. It's pretty weird. Every single one of them. And something to note is Sgt. Pepper's came out in 1967. Okay, so that's the first album after this death, 1 year after. That album has sold significantly more albums than any of their others. It apparently has gone 17-time platinum in one standard, and it's gone RIAA Diamond, which is 11 times platinum. Like, insane numbers. Their other albums end up going like 8 times platinum, some golds, whatever. 17 times platinum and diamond. Like, that's ridiculous, dude. And that's
okay,
fall, man. That's post 66.
So, well, okay, wait. So they crushed it because of this album. I would argue, what if they did it? What if the band knows? If I was in a band of 4 dudes and I knew one of them died and we replaced them with Fall, in my mind, I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm speaking just from my perspective. I wouldn't really want to bring light to it, especially if the government hypothetically is involved. I wouldn't want to talk about it. I wouldn't want to like make it so like in my mind. Those evidence you guys are giving me, that is too perfect to not be looked at as like real. Like you can't
because it happened.
So let me get to my point. So if so
his famous last words. Let me get to my point.
As MI5 snipes him. It'd be MI6 at this point.
So, in my mind, if they're covering this up and they're trying to now leak, audio and visuals and all these things to the internet, people like saying, what, Paul is dead, or Turn Me On, Dead Man, those kind of things. To me, it's like that's definitely a play for them. That's there's a word for it, like a strategy, like that's publicity they're doing. They're purposely doing that for views. This isn't to talk about their dead friend. This is like them just exploiting money and then being like, we can do it because we've made this conspiracy and now we can reap the benefits. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't they come out and say something, Taylor? Like, didn't the Beatles admit to it being planned the whole time?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
I don't believe it.
I'm saying, but that's gotta be a theory.
So there is definitely a long list of theories that involves the Beatles themselves creating this hoax in hopes of somehow boosting, album sales. It's been proven that Brian Epstein really knows what he's doing in the world of marketing, and there's no doubt. So this story broke. The newspaper story at Drake University broke in 1969. So Sgt. Pepper's was released in 1967. It did okay, did good, how they would expect. But in 1969, all their album sales blew through the roof, presumably because of this hoax. People are buying the albums, even if maybe they had them in the past, they're rebuying them because they want to examine all this artwork. They want to get every piece of Beatle literature, anything that's printed Beatle. They want to cross-reference. They want to find Paul. They want to find Fall. They want to see the discrepancies here. So the proof is in the pudding. Their sales went up dramatically because of this story. So that is very plausible that it's an inside job. So, out of the 4 Beatles, right? Unfortunately, John Lennon was murdered years ago. George Harrison passed away, I believe, of cancer. So, Paul and Ringo Starr are the only 2 surviving members. Now, if I was one of them, I don't know. Maybe I'd take it to my grave. It depends on which one I was, or if I had anything to gain or lose from it. But it is certain that they all have an immense amount of money to lose if it were to come out that it's actually Paul McCartney, a fake Paul. I mean, that's legit fraud, like on all levels. Yeah. And they would be out
the biggest
hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. But nevertheless, in 2015, Johnny, Ringo Starr publicly stated that the story is true. Paul McCartney died in 1966. And it was replaced by Billy Shears.
That's insane.
Unfortunately, the report, the website this was posted on is another one of those fake fucking news sites, another mockumentary site, just fucking with our goddamn brains. They literally put that on there with a picture of Ringo Starr saying, "We just interviewed Ringo at his house. Confirmed. The hoax is true." So, boom, like, I guarantee in 2015 there was some spike in fucking Beatles sales. Guaranteed.
But so your whole premise is that this was done from Fall. My whole premise is this was done intentionally from the band, from the manager. They all did it intentionally. That's where I'm coming from.
I find that to be quite plausible, very likely, extremely likely.
But you want to believe in Fall.
I want to believe in Fall. Some of these physical attributes just seem crazy. The 3 inches, that's a real big one. The 3 inches.
Yep.
You see these picture overlays.
The chin.
Something I did not mention about this is that there have been legit vocal analytics done on all decades of Beatles shit. Yeah. And it's theorized. The studies showed that there are up to 3 different Paul McCartney voices out there. 3 different distinct voices that were not of the same person. And we're not talking about somebody singing in different styles, singing in different keys, stuff like that.
The actual
sound. Legit science behind their voice is just different. It's 3 different people, which is weird. Who knows what that third voice is?
You can't fake that, really.
That's tough.
I would be against it if in 2003 another allegation about Avril Lavigne dying and being replaced by Melissa Vandella. I'd be like that, because I found out about this whole theory later. Like, I found out a few years ago that this was the thing. And so then in looking at in 2003, there was the same thing about Avril Lavigne, and there are pictures and there's all this stuff. I don't know. It's a great marketing move, but it's also the riskiest shit from a PR standpoint that I don't know.
Well, I get what you're saying.
But legally,
if it goes wrong, it could go haywire.
Let's say, what could go wrong? Like we said a minute ago, they've got a lot of money to lose because it would be legit fraud. But let's just say James Paul McCartney died in 1966. William Shears Campbell, Billy Shears, legally changes his name to James Paul McCartney. I don't know if that's is that fraud? I mean, he legally changed his name.
He's he's in so deep too that why would he ever? It's if Benicio del Toro can pee all over stuff on a movie set after a couple months of method acting. Imagine what from 66 to now would do to a person. You'd be so. I think about Joaquin Phoenix and that fake rap documentary. After that, Joaquin was always kind of messed up, but after he was in so deep for a year or two as this character, he couldn't come back from it, even though it was a satire.
It kind of hurt his career a little bit,
Right, but it goes back to the crop circle stuff that we talked about. It's the Beatles they've broken up. They all have solo careers. Why has Ringo or Paul or somebody not come out and said hey, we did this thing. It was a brilliant PR move.
Or we didn't.
Or, I mean, if they said they didn't, that would be where the problem is. But if they actually did it, why are they not talking about it now and claiming hey, all you guys are right. We did do this thing as a PR move. and then they get a pat on the back being like, oh, wow, from a PR perspective in the 60s, that was a super bold, brave move.
Yeah.
I think it's the same reason for the crop circles, that if there is kids making crop circles and they're just doing it for the shits and the giggles and just for like the conspiracy theories, same reason why the Beatles did it is for the conspiracy theories. For the people out there that are investing in buying albums and spending the money to figure it out, it's for that exact reason they haven't come out. And they won't.
I would say that the Beatles, even if Billy Shears really did replace Paul McCartney, it could still be a brilliant PR move to throw the clues out there. That could still be a brilliant PR move.
Right. Well, it also throws people off because, like, oh, if it's so obvious,
right? Can't hide it in plain
creates
sight.
This like idea of illusion. Yeah, exactly. But I would lean more towards that this is the truth, because I do think that we would go to such extremes to, like, this is for a band to create this much hoopla, and it was like a source of love and happiness and freedom for people, and it was this whole crazy thing. Like, I believe that from a marketing standpoint, because you sort of sell your soul to a certain industry,
right,
like mostly the music industry, I believe that it would be so crazy that someone would go to these extremes, and if anyone ever did, the Beatles would be the band that people would go to these extremes for. So
it'd either be the Beatles or Death Clock. So, which oddly enough, if you're familiar with Metalocalypse, I imagine, like, I kind of equate like Beatlemania as like it's got to equate somehow. Like, I'm sure Metalocalypse they took some inspiration from Beatlemania and how they just ran the fucking world for a few years, but. Dude.
Oh yeah, no, they crushed it. But yeah, I don't know. I just tying it back to the crop circles thing. As an artist, like, Paul McCartney doesn't give a shit about anything anymore. He's been knighted. He's doing his own thing. He's doing tracks with Kanye. Like, why has he not come out casually in an interview and been like, because I think Conan or something asked him, like, hey, this thing happened.
Are you dead?
And he laughed it off.
Right. It'd be way cooler if he did it on his deathbed.
It would be so cool if on television.
So metal. Or if it's last performance ever.
But like,
fuck y'all, I'm Billy Shears, piss off. But even then, even if he did that, people would be like, man, that was a really good PR move. You know what I mean? Like, oh, really well done. He played off the hoax there. He just used the hoax there for another last laugh. So I don't think there's any way. Even if he does admit it on his deathbed, there would have to be like a trunk, a chest of like documents, photos, all this shit, like the evidence of the surgery. Like, we'd have to have all that, for people to really accept it. Because, dude...
At this point, a word's nothing.
Right. The people, like... The Beatles are not the same as every other band out there. Like, people love the Beatles more than they love music. Like, people take the Beatles very seriously. People take Paul McCartney very seriously. And they describe him as, like, one of the greatest songwriters in the 20th century. A genius bass player, outstanding songwriter. If you talk to someone who's like a true Paul McCartney fan, like my old roommate was a hardcore McCartney fan and Beatles fan in general, he could probably tell you the year, why Paul McCartney sounds the way he sounds in that year, what was going on in his life, why does he sound this way in 68, why in 74, I think his fans actually know that kind of shit, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, and it's just they've been known for so many crazy, like, Yellow Submarine and their movies and their TV shows, like, being trippy. Like, they have been so open about all those things. It makes more sense to me, believe it or not, that Paul McCartney died and was replaced by someone as a PR move and to save the band and to save essentially like the world.
Essentially.
That makes more
save the fucking planet.
That makes more sense to me. Yeah, that makes more sense to me than like the Beatles doing all this experimental stuff and refusing to claim openly, publicly, on the record that
they're forging it.
That they planned it all. That just doesn't make it. It's so out of character for the band.
I agree.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm gonna go out on a limb as well and say that I really feel. I think it's Paul McCartney. I think he's fake, man. What do you say, Johnny?
Yep.
I think we can all agree that I'm not going to agree with that, and I want to say it's got to be a PR move. They made it. Whoever the manager was and the people behind them were saying, make this. It's gonna make bank and just keep a secret. Or
There's
just,
no way. There's no like you're gonna go to sleep tonight and you're gonna regret that you're saying that right now.
Yeah, you're gonna
I
start
don't
changing your mind.
think
You're gonna start thinking about these points.
if-
You're like,
okay,
"Ah,
I'll-
you know what?
Let-
I mean, that eye surgery.
to be
man,
fair-
they're crazy. They're crazy. No, they're crazy points. I'll tell you what. If Paul really died, if Paul really, I don't know. You saying he did. No, I'll take your word at face value. But if he really died, there's a whole lot of things that just don't make sense in my mind, and they don't add up. The height thing, the chin thing, they don't add up. But in my mind,
How do they not add up? It's physical.
for my point that I said earlier,
Right,
they
yeah,
don't like my claim
Okay.
is not true because of those points. If he really did die,
Yeah.
But I'm basically validating my point by saying it was a PR move from the start. The whole crash was a whatever it was a hoax. That's how I'm validating it. But that whole thing hinges on the fact that he actually was decapitated. That's my whole entire theory. It hinges on that point alone.
There's like a body bag, and like people involved would have come out at that point because I'm sure tabloids would have paid so much money back
People
then
would
for
come
people who were desperate to come out of the.
This is a really difficult one for me, but I'm gonna stay with my.
Get the fuck out of here, Johnny.
But you got to think though, if it were
You're
fake,
always going to stay there.
if it were all a hoax, like there would be a high possibility that the character Billy Shears could be completely made up. That's a possibility too.
That's
And
what I'm
all
saying.
these
That-
pictures that we take
was
of
the
Billy
whole entire
Shears
point.
are pictures of Paul McCartney, just weird angles. He just looks different. You're like, yeah, it's Paul McCartney, but it doesn't look like him. You know, I don't know. That's a possibility, but I don't know. That's the fun with hypotheticals and mysteries and conspiracies and hoaxes, man. Is we're probably never gonna know. We're never gonna know the real Fall or Paul, or is Fall really a knight? So if Fall replaced Paul,
It's probably
when was Paul knighted? So it would actually be Paul McCartney who was knighted. And if he did legally change his name to James Paul McCartney, I think he'd be clear with the royal courts. He'd be okay.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, you're right. Ah.
This is crazy. This episode over any other episode is blowing my mind. I'm gonna say it's more blowing my mind than the Nick's ghost stories, which blew my mind in the first place. This is actually
a different level of
I
mine.
can't-
Like I knew, like I said, I always know what topics Taylor's going to pick, and I really enjoy this topic. I watched the fake documentary that they did on Ringo, which is like ridiculous, but has really good points in it. I knew this was coming, and even I am like not my normal self in this podcast because
dude.
I just
it's crazy.
it's yeah.
To be honest, the research was mind-bending for this because, like I said, right off the bat when I started talking about Mr. Shears, like I found so much information that like didn't agree with so much information.
Contradicted
like,
itself.
Yeah, so much contradicting information that I just had to play the law of averages and be like, all right, Billy Shears was the name most of the time, so I'm going to go with that. So it's a lot of these facts are very fuzzy.
Right.
It's hard to say that they're facts, which could support the hoax idea, could not, could just be like, yo, Google's, make better searches. Because I'm a tech guy. Make my searches cooler.
That's awesome.
Well, if you guys have any hypotheticals you want us to talk about, because clearly this one, like, just mellowed out. It's crazy. If you want to share with us your hypotheticals about today's episode or news, whatever it is, you can shoot us an email at hybrothoughts@gmail.com. That's hybrothoughts@gmail.com. Who knows? Maybe your hypothetical will be featured on next week's episode or a future episode. You never know until you listen. Any additional things that you guys want to tack on?
I like GLORP gum.
I too like GLORP gum. I think it's an awesome topic, Taylor. I'm really impressed with you, dude.
Thank you. I did a lot of
Another
research
killer.
on this one. I wanted to be prepared.
Another killer. Well, man, we'll just listen next week for another crazy topic. This one fucked me up.